In the previous lecture, guys, you learned how to bring up the retime controls using the Control R and how to increase or reduce the speed of a clip using these double arrows here, just left and right. Let's see something interesting. It's very powerful for your understanding of how the speed in DaVinci Resolve will work. I will right click and go to change clip speed. Now notice here you have speed, frames per second, and you have certain options here you can check or uncheck. Let's change the speed to 300 and let's click out. Notice that the frames per second has changed to 75. This is not the speed, okay? As a video editor, you are now going to start working with a percentage. Make it 3 times faster or 10 times faster. You are going to work with the frames per second. This clip is originally 25 frames per second. If you make it 75 frames per second, of course, you are going to increase the number of frames played per second, and hence it's going to look playing faster. So your real speed is the frames per second. Now you can come and adjust the frames per second here to 125. Now this is important because from time to time you have an MP4 video like we have now, but much more compressed. And when you play with the frames per second, you have things that are not very okay. You know, there is some flickering or something. So you want to come back and work with the speed according to frames per second. Now you have these options here. Let's start with the ripple sequence. Now remember, when you use the double arrows, I asked you to be in your trim mode so we could ripple on the timeline. But now, ripple sequence, if you check it, of course now we are at 207%. We are going to go up to 500%. So the size of the clip obviously is going to be reduced if you want to play from the same in and out point. I repeat, if you want to play from the same in and out point. If I click change, of course, it has reduced it and has rippled on the timeline. That was easy. For simplicity, I will undo this. I will right click again and go back to change clip speed. Let's say, for example, I set it at 100 frames per second. Okay, so I have a speed that has been increased 4 times or 400%. This speed is higher than the speed I have in the timeline. And if my ripple sequence is off, you might think it's going to reduce the size of the clip and leave you with a gap. Actually, this is not what it's going to do. If I press change, notice what happened. The size on the clip or the duration of the clip did not change, but the out point has changed. You notice now I'm playing more frames. Okay, this is the last frame. If I undo, okay, I'm going to go back to 297. This is the out point. If I redo, notice it has changed the out point. So exactly what happened? It kept the same duration and added as many frames as necessary to cope with the 100 frames per second. It's a very good and very powerful concept here, guys. So I don't have to go back and trim it and so on. It gave me enough time for my 100 frames per second. Now, if you are a beginner, keep ripple sequence on and then come and trim it using the trim mode. Now you might have noticed that you can go negative. Okay, guys, so now you are playing in reverse speed. Let's put it at minus, I don't know, 80 frames per second. So obviously now it's gonna go backward and I retimed it. And I click change. Okay, now notice because the ripple is there, it has rippled, it has taken more time on the timeline, but also what's most interesting are the arrows over here. You notice now the arrows are going backward. Mind you, you have reversed the whole clip, which could be very interesting from time to time, and you really want to play with this. Another option here, which you most probably guessed, is the freeze frame. Now notice where the playhead is. Unfortunately, we cannot move this panel. If you check freeze frame and say change, here you are. The whole clip has become this frame where the playhead was. And notice in the speed controls, you have this red bar all over the clip itself. And the speed, you notice here, it's 0%. So you have a still image. Thank you. I will see you in the next lecture with some more interesting speed retiming controls and techniques within DaVinci Resolve.